Hi, welcome back to another episode of Hi Haley. So, the big discussion in the world right now is AI, and I wanted to further our conversation on it here on Hi Haley. So, this week I brought in guest Don Mink, the director of our CRM practice here, and we had a rather fun conversation on the topic. So, check it out. Hi, Don. Welcome to Hi Haley.
Hi, Haley.
We're excited to have you today and for our fun discussion on AI. But before we get started, why don't you tell everyone who you are?
Absolutely. Don Mink. I am director of our CRM solutions at Ascendex Consulting.
I ask everybody, what are you currently watching on TV?
I am currently watching Baby Reindeer on Netflix. It was recommended to us by a few people. It started out a bit creepy. I hear it gets creepier, but it's been good so far.
I've heard about that and I've seen it on like social media, but I can't figure out why it's not about reindeer.
That it is not. I am still figuring that out myself.
Awesome. Good recommendation. All right. So, again, thanks for joining and thanks for the chat about AI. So, to get us started, what are your thoughts on it? And also, it just being a scary word.
It is a scary word, and let me start first. There's three main things that I think are important to hit on today. The first is understanding, and it's understanding artificial intelligence. What does that mean? And that's why it's really scary. Scary things are the unknown things, and not
Mhm.
understanding those things. And then related to AI is really around quality and volume. I know you and Brandon had talked about quality in terms of data quality, data integrations, and so forth. I want to hit on the volume piece of that as well. And then how do you get started with all of this? Because it's such a big, scary thing. How do we get started? What do I even do? And so, yeah, it does have some sort of scariness to it because it's this unknown. When we look at a definition that was coined back in 1956, which was artificial intelligence, which when you think about that, 1956,
Doesn't sound right.
before modern, right? Before modern computer, before what we have right now in terms of modern technology and computers, it was coined as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. So brilliant, future thinking into what could be or what it could be, but still pretty generic. And we can all do this. For those that are listening and watching, Google artificial intelligence and definition. You're going to get a whole bunch of different definitions
Mhm.
around what that means. And so fear is rooted in lack of understanding. It's rooted in our safety and our security and what is this and fear of missing out. Am I missing out on something that somebody else is doing? If you think back to the old show Fear Factor, to jump off a building or to eat this scary looking worm that I've never seen in my life that's like
Mhm.
a foot long. That's scary. Why is it scary? I don't know if I'm going to get sick from eating this thing. I don't know if I'm going to get hurt by jumping off of this building. If I knew that there was a 0% chance I was going to get sick and there was a 0% chance I was going to get injured, I wouldn't be scared. I would have no fear to go
Mhm.
do those things. And so really fear is rooted in that lack of understanding. And we've seen that fear through history too. You think about electricity. So what we live with all over today. What happens if somebody comes to you and knocks on your door and says, "I want to help you get electricity in your home"? And you're thinking, "Well, is it going to shock me? Am I going to light my house on fire? Like, what's going to happen?" Same thing with internet, right? All this stuff just flying around? My data, am I safe? Same thing with cloud, especially on the business sense.
Mhm.
In the early 2000s, it was, yeah, but I know my machine's sitting right here in my building. It's safe, it's secure, all my data's there. You want me to put it into this thing called a cloud? Now, talk about ambiguous, right? Cloud,
Where
what does
is the
that
cloud?
mean? Artificial intelligence is in the same spot, right? What does that mean? And it encompasses so many things. And so the bit of etymology nerd in me starts to go to the words. What do they actually mean? And so when you look up the word artificial, what does that mean? It's a skill as a result of learning a practice. And it is a work of art, a skill, a theory, or a system. And so when you think about a skill based on practice, okay, that kind of makes sense as I apply it to artificial and a work of art. It's not something that's that's real, like a teardrop. This is something that's artificial.
Mhm.
And when we look up intelligence and what that means, It's the power of discerning art, skill, or taste. So it's the understanding of what is artificial, and it's the able to discern what is artificial in terms of a skill or a taste or a piece of art. And when you look at art and you look at intelligence, the etymology of that, when you're looking at the Latin and Greek roots and so forth, comes to understanding over and over and over. Understanding is mentioned within the roots over and over. And this word is a mess in etymology. It is a complete mess because nobody, when you look at the words like under, does that mean you're underneath something? Or stand, but I'm standing under? It doesn't make sense. So when you look at it, Old English means between or among.
Mhm.
Sanskrit means among or between. Latin means between and among. Greek actually means intestines, the root word. So when you have a gut feel, you're getting that from a Greek term
Intestines
for
feel now.
intestine. It's an intestine feel. So it's constantly over and over being between or among. Okay, so we just did a whole bunch of fun etymology stuff, right? What the hell is the point of this? Why are we doing this? It's for us to understand artificial intelligence. For me to understand artificial, what does that really mean? Because creating intelligent machines, what does that mean? So when we pull those two words together, really it means pulling together and so really based, taking the phrase from the 1956 phrase and using etymology to help us understand it. It's the ability to grasp an idea and convey a view of a work of art, skill, theory, or a system by being or living between or among it. So what the hell does that mean?
Well, I think it's a lot to unpack, and you're the first person to describe it this way. So, can you break it down for us, maybe in a real life example?
Yeah, so you're making a trip, right? You're gonna make a road trip soon,
Hmm. Hopefully.
Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to see on your way to Minneapolis, right,
It's
from
on my
Atlanta.
list.
Yeah, yeah. Why not, right? So let's have a conversation about your trip. Should we turn to each other, have a conversation?
Okay. Which
I,
direction would it work, though?
I don't know. Are we going
I'm
to work
probably
this way?
staring at the opposite direction to look like we're speaking.
All right, all right. I'll just look at you. I'll look at you. So you're making a trip to Minneapolis. What are you thinking about? What's that trip look like? How long are you going to take to make that trip? What's your plan?
I don't feel like I'd want to drive it. I feel like that'd be a long way. So, fly.
Well, you gotta no drive. You gotta drive it for
I
sure.
gotta drive it.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
so
Then I'm
much to see
driving.
in between. So much to see in between.
The Midwest.
Yeah, you've got the mountains you can drive through. You've got Tennessee. Yeah, absolutely. What do you need to know about your trip? I've made that trip before. I've done that trip from Minneapolis to Fort Myers Beach, so similar.
Long way. I would
I drove
say
that in 24 hours, so it was a straight through.
I don't know if I would be able to straight through it, so I would say where can I stop on the way and where is
Okay,
the food located?
food and lodging. What about scenic stuff on the way? Anything that you would want to see?
Maybe when I get to it, if I knew about it beforehand, it would
All
go on
right.
my list.
All right. I'm not going to be able to help very much because my trip was 24 hours, right? It was just like it was straight
One and
through. Our
done.
goal was to get there and back really quick. So I'm not giving you what you need, right? But what if we
Mhm,
added somebody else to this conversation? What if we added 10 more people to this conversation that made that trip before? Or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 people that have made that trip before. Now you might be able to get some more information
mhm.
to make better decisions, right?
So true. Oh, good example.
So instead of just talking with me, who not very valuable for my recommendations, sorry, that's really where AI can help solve that problem, right? And coming back to understanding and living between, if you want to plan that trip that I'm forcing you to drive instead of
It's making me go
take
to
a flight for,
Minneapolis.
right? Instead of spending your time researching that, instead of spending your time having these kind of conversations only to find out it was really not valuable,
Mhm,
um, in this case, there's a lot of people that have taken this trip before that have left reviews, that have found the fastest way, the safest way, the most economic way, the most scenic way. And so AI can live between those experiences via data and via being able to understand sentiment. Was this comment left where they were just angry staying at this hotel, or was this comment left very positively in terms of its reviews? And so to be able to live between all of that, it's just impossible for a human,
Mhm.
right? But we can employ AI to help us understand who has lived between and among and really understand those experiences and that data to make recommendations based on what you want and what you're looking for in that trip.
Not so scary.
Not so scary anymore because millions of others have done it before you.
Mhm. So another thing I've noticed, just when using certain like AI platforms, is just I guess the inaccuracy of it or the overcomplication of what I'm asking or what I'm doing. Like for example, even just in a Teams call, if you have your hand a certain way, you're gonna like thumbs down, and it's like I was not downing that. Yeah, and it
Is it?
pops up
Yeah,
not when
yeah.
you want it to, or when you ask chat.
There
There
it
we go.
is. There
When
it is.
you ask like Copilot something, it's not always what I want. So I guess do we as users of AI need to learn how to use it and talk to AI like on our end? Is that something we have to kind of learn?
Absolutely. And actually, it's something that I think we have a benefit of teaching how to use it. There's use cases of kids in high school or college using the tool in a way that maybe shouldn't be used the way it should be used,
It
right?
would have been nice
Um,
to have in college.
right? And it's wonderful for generating new ideas and things that maybe
Mhm.
we wouldn't have thought of before. And so there is a lot of learning to happen around that's needed around how to employ it and where to employ it. And I know you and I, as an example, we had intent for me to be Haley, which
Mhm.
was going to be really fun through our deep fake exercise. And through a 20-second video of me and a 20-second video of you, um, it was pretty scary what came out of that
It's
thing.
different.
Different. That's a very, yes, it's a very Southern nice thing to say.
Yeah.
It's different. Yes, yes. Um, yes, scary, scary.
Uh-huh.
But we fed it 20 seconds of information, right? And to your question around how we use it, did I prompt in terms of GPT, for example, Chat GPT, or others like it? Did I give it the right information? Did I give it the right prompts in advance? Did I provide a foundation where it knew how to answer that question? If you just say, give me a trip plan from Atlanta to Minneapolis, probably give you some flights to make that trip.
Mhm.
You didn't give it proper prompts to provide the foundation for it to make those recommendations. And so, in the same way that we fed deepfake a 20-second video of each of us, it tried its best, right? But the output wasn't great. And I know that you and Brandon focused on data and again data quality, data
Mhm.
management, data governance, integrations between systems to make sure that we have access to the right data. The other thing I would add to that is volume. For the same reason as we think about that 20-second video, it just wasn't enough volume. It didn't have the ability to understand, to live between and among your facial expressions, your movements, full face view, etc. So volume is really important and just as important as quality. And so, it's not about high volumes of bad data, and it's not about low volumes of perfect data, but it's finding the balance between the two and providing high enough volumes of data so that our AI models can learn from that data, uh, and it has to be high quality data to be able to learn from it.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, we don't get a chance to listen to the audio or actually watch the video of that.
You're welcome, people. So this kind of feels like a lot. To, wrap it up, is it worth it?
It is worth it, yeah, and it does feel like a lot. You know, again, there's fear rooted in this lack of understanding of AI, and in the same way, there's fear in understanding how do I even get started with this? Where do I
Mhm.
where do I go? What do I do? And I use the phrase, it's a big leap with a small step. And so many people are dipping their toe in the water with things like ChatGPT and learning, to your point, about how to use it, how to prompt it properly to set up for what you're actually asking for. And it's not about taking your first autonomous drone trip. I would take a drone, by the way. You don't need a plane or a car. Just jump on a drone.
The drone.
Um, but you don't need to jump on an autonomous drone and be one of the first to make that trip from Atlanta to Minneapolis. It's not what you probably want to do, right? It doesn't feel safe and secure.
Oh.
You're like, where am I going to stop? How far am I going to make it before we have to refuel or charge the battery? Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to go there, and you don't have to go there with AI either. Um, it's getting started, and so for businesses, it's coming up with those top 5 use cases. What are those top 5 things that you think AI could help solve? And those could just be ideas. They don't have to be
Mhm.
perfect. They could just be ideas, and those could be things like, um, I wish that we could uh, decrease the time it takes to close our opportunities. Or it could be things like, I want to decrease the call volume that my customer service team receives. Or it could be automating repetitive tasks like my emails and writing those emails. I'm writing these 5 emails over and over and over every day. Or maybe it's scheduling, it's calendaring. Maybe there's an opportunity to employ AI models to help with that. And so coming up with those top 5 use cases, what are they? And then prioritizing those top 5 use cases. So there's 5 steps. Identify and prioritize those top 5 use
Mhm.
cases. The second is identify and prepare your data. And that goes back to quality data that Brandon talked about, as well as volumes of data.
Mhm.
The third is selecting the right AI techniques and tools. And so as we have that big umbrella of AI, whether it's machine learning or deep learning, and then all of the subversions of that underneath AI, the AI umbrella, I call it. What's the right technique and tool to employ to solve said use case? And then start with a proof of concept. It doesn't have to be launched as this giant company initiative that I need to get a whole bunch of people behind, and we've got to have this, measured in success. Do a proof of concept. Does this
Mhm.
idea work? What happens when I plug this together? And then the fifth one is most important: learn from it, aka help understand it. What worked, what didn't work, measure it, iterate on it. So from that learning, iterate and try something new again.
Well, Don, I appreciate you being on Hi Haley and for the fun, but we hope to have you back on soon.
I'd love to.
We
I'd
can
love
break
to.
down another word.
Maybe next time we'll have a legitimate, good-looking, meaning not me, deep
Not
fake video.
scary.
Not scary. Deep fake video.
That would be great. Well, I appreciate you on the show.
Thank you, Haley.
Thanks, Don.